Two locally born panda twin cubs officially meet the public. Wang Yi outlines Beijing's vision of a multipolar world. And Hamas frees 3 Israeli hostages as Israel releases more than 300 Palestinian prisoners. Hello, happy Sunday. I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. 2 locally born panda cubs officially met the public at Ocean Park today. Many panda enthusiasts arrived early to get a glimpse of the twin cubs. Mimo Singhai reports.
This Sunday hits differently for some people. At the entrance of Ocean Park, panda lovers gathered before the theme park even opened, hoping to see the giant panda twin cubs, elder sister and little brother, as soon as possible. A long queue formed outside the giant panda adventure after 10 a.m. Inside, people were eager to capture the movements of the twins with their cameras and cell phones. The siblings were both active and playful. The brother focused on tree climbing, while his sister occupied the swing bed. However, the sister soon abandoned the swing and opted for the tree. The twins were exhausted after a while, so both took a nap. As a measure to give more people the opportunity to meet the cubs, visitors can only spend 5 minutes seeing them. What do visitors think?
If the pandas are sitting there doing nothing, then it's probably all right, yeah. We'll find out when we get there. So we've been waiting about 30 minutes so far, so it's not too bad.
What time did you come?
We came here at exactly 10 o'clock.
I have completed the first round and I'm queuing for the second round. For me, half an hour or an hour may be enough. So I love to watch the pandas, and so 5 minutes or 10 minutes never enough.
Some overseas tourists said they would come back for the pandas.
I don't think there's a lot of pandas existing in our world. So I think by seeing them, I felt compassion for them.
After visiting the twins, members of the public can select some panda-themed souvenirs to take home.
The twins will greet the public between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. daily. Ocean Park earlier said they expect to accommodate about 5,000 visitors per day. Speaking on a TVB program, Ocean Park's chairman Paulo Pon said they plan to launch new panda-related activities in April or May, including a panda carer program. Pon revealed that the park is filming a panda documentary and may also produce a cartoon in the future. The chairman added the park has been hosting pandas since 1999, and it will construct a panda museum as a site to store the pictures and other mementos related to the national treasures. Mimo Singhai, TVB News.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan says the government will issue bonds to finance infrastructure projects at the northern metropolis in a bid to ensure progress in the development plan. Despite having recorded a deficit of close to $100 billion, the FS noted on his blog that the development of the area will not be affected by the government's current fiscal situation. He stressed that the city has a relatively low government debt-to-GDP ratio of 9.3%. This, as Chan said, authorities will maintain strict fiscal discipline, adding that the bonds will not be used in areas of daily expenditure. Foreign Minister Wang Yi made China's presence felt at the Munich Security Conference, outlining Beijing's vision of a multipolar world of cooperation, strategic partnerships, and aversion to conflict. Wang Yi met German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and top officials from the European Union and NATO in Munich. Nazvi Karim with more.
Wang Yi with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who Beijing considers to be a special friend in Europe. Scholz voted against introducing European Union tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles last October. Wang hailing Germany as a rational and pragmatic player on the European stage. He described Germany as a stabilizing force in the continent in its stance against protectionism. This at a time when the United States is starting to impose tariffs on a number of countries China being among the targets. Wang's message to Germany was the same as that to all participants at the conference. China is not a threat but a partner and does not seek conflict. Greeting Koya Kallas, the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Wang said that 2025 marked 50 years of diplomatic relations between China and the EU, and both sides should seize the opportunity to reflect on their respective development. He said China is happy to celebrate with the EU by preparing a new China-EU summit and draw up a blueprint for relations into the next half a century. Wang is also portraying China as a willing peacemaker, his meeting with Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiha reflecting Beijing's neutral stance in the war with Russia. The EU is still reeling from US President Donald Trump's efforts to forge a peace deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin behind their backs. Wang said China supports a peaceful resolution to the war, and any negotiations for a conflict taking place in Europe must involve the EU. He met NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the latter's invitation. Some NATO members see Beijing as a global threat to security, but Wang said China is a force for peace and stability, boasting the best track record among the world's major countries. He urged NATO to adopt an objective and correct understanding of China. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Israel, pushing to extend the ceasefire in Gaza between Israel and Hamas. This after the latest hostage prisoner exchange. U.S. President Donald Trump is sending his top envoy, saying he'll back any move Israel makes. David Garrett reports.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio kicks off his Middle East tour in Israel, in the region for the first time as the top US diplomat and at a tense time for peace in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warmly welcomes Rubio ahead of talks about the next move. Arab leaders dismissed President Trump's plan to transfer Palestinians out of Gaza, but those same regional powers are scrambling to come up with a counter-proposal. Saturday's hostage for prisoners swap went without a hitch. 3 Israeli hostages, said by doctors to be in a good condition, exchanged for 369 Palestinians. Ultimatums and arguments threaten to derail the Israel-Hamas truce and the transfer of hostages, but the ceasefire is holding, allowing for moments like these. Demonstrators again on the streets in Tel Aviv calling for all hostages to be brought home by Israel. Phase 2 of the ceasefire deal is still under discussion. It should see all hostages freed and an end to the war. In this first phase, 33 hostages are to be freed. It is 19 freed so far. Almost 2,000 Palestinian detainees will be released by Israel during this period. Crowds in Khan Yunis welcome home these former prisoners delivered by buses. They number at over 1,000 since the ceasefire started in mid-January. Among the newly released, 36 have been sentenced to life for attacks on Israel. Diplomacy continues with Hamas blaming Israel for preventing aid deliveries to Gaza. At the border, a delegation from the European Parliament was told by Arab officials that the amount of aid trickling through is not acceptable and pressure must be put on Israel.
We need to have a clear voice, and we cannot admit double standards. If we are defending the human rights and we are defending the territory sovereignty in other places, we have to do the same here in the Middle East.
Later in Rafah, ambulances deployed after an explosion inside Gaza. At least one body was transferred from a truck to the medical teams who headed straight to the European hospital. The Israeli army says armed individuals moved near troops and were struck. Shortly after, dozens of aid trucks moved into southern Gaza. David Garrett, TVB News.
A 14-year-old was killed when a man went on an apparent rampage with a knife in a city center in southern Austria. Police have arrested a Syrian asylum seeker. The Interior Minister says the 23-year-old is a suspected Islamist who was radicalized online. 6 males were stabbed, with a teenager, the youngest victim, dying of his injuries. Police say a food delivery driver rammed his vehicle into the attacker to prevent him from harming more people. The assailant suffered minor injuries and was arrested. No motive has been reported. Candles are lit where the incident happened in Filak. Still ahead, a stampede at a new Delhi railway station leaves at least 18 people dead. Macau manufacturers of traditional medicinal products tap resources in Hengqin to gain ground in overseas markets. and Kai Tak Sports Park's final stress test ahead of its official opening next month. Welcome back. 5 children have been named among at least 18 killed in a stampede at a railway station in India's capital, New Delhi. The youngest victim was just 7, with the oldest 79 years old. 14 women died. Passengers were mostly Hindu pilgrims waiting to board trains to go to the Mahakumbh in Prayagraj. An eyewitness says she was standing on platform 12 when an announcement was made that the train would leave from platform 14. People took a footbridge across platforms, but some slipped and fell on top of each other, causing the crush. A shopkeeper at the station says there were no crowd control measures in place. U.S. President Donald Trump toured a Boeing airplane to check out new hardware and technology features, while also pointing out the delay in delivering updated versions of the Air Force One presidential aircraft. Trump visited the private aircraft parked at Palm Beach International Airport. Air Force One is a modified Boeing 747. 2 exist, and the president flies on both of the more than 30-year-old planes. Boeing is contracted to produce updated versions, but production has been delayed. Delivery initially was set for 2024, but has been pushed to 2027 for the first plane and 2028 for the second. Trump has railed against the project's cost and delivery delays. He earlier said he was able to cut more than $1 billion from the project by playing hardball with Boeing during his first term in office. Traditional Chinese medicine is one of the development priorities of Macau's appropriate economic diversification. Local businesses in the sector hope they can draw upon the space and resources of Hengqin to increase their manufacturing capacities and gain ground in Portuguese-speaking markets. Danny Cho has the story.
The Chongqing pain relief oil, which is made of traditional Chinese medicine, has over 70 years of history in Macau. The manufacturing process, such as precipitation, bottling and packaging, were moved to an automated factory in Kowloon 2 years ago to replace the original front shop back factory mode. To break into new markets, the medicated oil factory in recent years made strides in export to Singapore, even as far as Mozambique in Africa. Its halal certification is also on the way. Zhang Le-yi, the third-generation successor of the factory, is eyeing to build a brand of Macau in the long run and secure its space in the local market. He pointed to Hengqin's space and resources, which he says is essential to boost productivity or develop new products. The company plans to complete registration of their medicines in America and Canada, or Brazil and Southeast Asia, carry out trial sales, and find relevant agents before long. Zhang said this year they have a great chance to develop medical patches or medicinal ointment, along with university institutions or Hengqin tech teams. This pharmaceutical factory in Macau took an alternate route. It has retained local research and development, but transferred its manufacturing process to Hengqin. One of its star products, the wind oil, was the very first Chinese medicine product bearing the official label of production supervised by Macau. The factory's manager, Lau Tai-hung, who is also president of the Pharmacist Association of Macau, thinks combining Macau's supervision with made in Hengqin products will give full play to the advantages of the two regions. Lau said the mode can expedite the launch of a unified standard of Chinese medicines by the Guangdong Hong Kong Macau Medical Products Administration. In this way, an industry chain will be formed, setting uniform standards for production, quality and safety. Lau encouraged more Macau businesses to make investments or build factories in Hengqin. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The Customs and Excise Department on Saturday arrested a 28-year-old woman on suspicion of possessing the space oil drug. It's the first arrest since Friday's banning of etomidate and other substances used to produce space oil under the Dangerous Drugs Ordinance. Customs authorities found a vape stick containing suspected space oil on the woman who traveled from Macau on Saturday. The woman, who claimed to be unemployed, has been released on bail. Under the Dangerous Drugs Ordinance, the maximum penalty for space oil possession is 7 years in prison and a fine of $1 million. The penalty for trafficking is life imprisonment and a fine of $5 million. The Kai Tak Sports Park held its final test event today ahead of its official opening next month. The event involved more than 60,000 participants. This as the arena used the Easy Leave platform for the first time to facilitate the departure of visitors. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Just weeks away from its official opening day, tens of thousands of residents and public servants underwent security checks before entering the Kai Tak Sports Park starting at 3 p.m. Those entering the youth sports grant were exempt. Directions were provided along the routes to the park's various facilities. The test event today involved some 63,000 people, the highest figure so far in the lead-up to its opening. A key part of today's events was simulating the arrival of VIPs and foreign guests. Starting at 5 p.m. and having lasted for around an hour, athletes performed a number of feats, from dances to rugby and football moves. The gala ended with the closing of the arena's canopy. During the middle of the event, a number of participants who felt unwell were taken away on stretchers and sent to hospital for treatment. Tens of thousands departed the arena when the test event ended at around 6 p.m., during which authorities used the Easy Leave artificial intelligence platform to analyze crowd density and provide suitable departure routes. Some of them shared their thoughts on the use of the new technology. This man said the platform helped him check what areas may be experiencing traffic congestion. While this woman said it helped a lot when someone else gave her clear instructions on which route to take when leaving. Earlier, the Transport Department arranged 2 bus companies to provide transport for departing participants at a nearby bus station. The MTR's 2-mile line had also increased the frequency of train services and implemented crowd control measures at the Kai Tak and Songwon Toy stations. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.